Delegate-elect, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a real estate broker and cattle farmer. That's my main occupations, and some other things in the real estate business. Also, I'm a paramedic and volunteer paramedic now. I used to be a full-time paramedic and volunteer firefighter in the past. I've always been I'm a fifth generation cattle farmer here in Grayson County. Been here my entire life. Don't have any plans to leave, and um, it's just really have always been dedicated to public service and helping the community in any way that I can.
What were some issues that people in a place like Grayson County were talking to you about? What were top of mind that people brought up?
Most importantly was cost of living, um, energy costs. That my campaign focused a lot on that, and just cost of living, lower taxes, and there were some social issues in there, but for the most part, cost of living, lower taxes. That's what people here were really wanting, and that's what I focused my campaign on.
You're a Republican that got elected in an election that was marked with this blue wave that swept across the state. How do you hope to get some of your own measures off the cutting room floor?
I'm in one of the most conservative parts of the state in Southwest Virginia, but we're also very economically distressed. We need a lot of economic development. We need wins in Richmond. So it's my goal to work across the aisle where we can, and for the best of all of Virginia, and especially the 46th district.
I've been out in Wise County, and I was asking about where the local hospitals were, where would you get your teeth fixed if you needed that? And most people would tell me things like, well, we'd go to Tennessee, or we'd go to Kentucky. We might go to North Carolina. What are some things that y'all deal with out in Grayson County that you're going to keep top of mind this legislative session?
Healthcare is a major issue. Keeping our hospitals that we have open, with some of the federal challenges, to have good access to healthcare. Same with pharmacies. Grayson County is a pharmacy desert. I think that's the only county in the district that is. But that's a big issue with our local pharmacies having issues all across the district.
Access to health care is something that a lot of Democrats ran on in this election as well. How would their vision of access to health care differ from yours?
Most Democrats are from more urban areas than rural areas, and we have unique challenges in rural areas there. So I think there's going to be some common ground there, but we're just going to have to see how that plays out. There's a lot of unknowns with the federal funding cuts. Another big issue in the area is energy costs. That's a statewide thing, but especially here in Southwest Virginia, we have some of the highest rates in the state, and people just cannot afford it. And it's tough on businesses, bringing businesses in, recruiting them, because we're right next door to North Carolina and to Tennessee, and they have lower taxes for the corporations to come in, and also lower energy costs. So really makes it tough for this area of the state. A lot of it's focused on Maryland, competing with Maryland and Virginia, but in our area of the state, we have North Carolina and Tennessee, and it's really tough to compete with those guys.
What drives energy costs in that area?
The big driver has been just the Clean Economy Act, in my opinion, has been one issue, because we just weren't really prepared, and solar and wind's a big push for this, to meet the requirements there. And we have a lot of farmland in my district. That's the main thing here, and farmers don't want to put solar panels on good productive farmland, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm a cattle farmer also, and once that land's lost, it's lost. And there's been some few solar farms in the area we have, and there's been some bad experiences there, and people are very weary of that.
What's your take on data centers? Some people would say that data centers are behind the rise in energy costs in the state of Virginia.
I believe they do play a part in that. I think we need to take care of the ratepayers first, the little guy, and the data centers should be pulling their weight. Now, it does bring some great economic opportunities for areas, and especially localities and counties in my area that are economically distressed. We don't have a lot of revenue. That's a good option for them coming in, but we have to be sure that we put the ratepayers, the individuals first, the small businesses, and be sure that we can afford electricity and we have reliable electricity for all of our businesses and all of our people to operate on.
You're about to enter a chamber that is marked by what's being called the trifecta. The Democrats have the General Assembly, they've got the Senate, and they've also got the governor's mansion. What concerns you about the direction that the state would head into in the next 2 years?
Well, there's several things that concern me. Energy, like I said, is one of the top issues. Also, a lot of social issues. As you know, I'm in a very conservative part of the state, and everybody down here, we like our guns, we like our Second Amendment rights, and many things. So there's, many things are on the table that the people in my district do not agree with. But, that's why we have elections, and that's where we are right now. We'll want to stand up for people in my district, and hopefully where we can find some common ground on issues.
One of the things that a lot of members of your party have to contend with is whether you will embrace the President of the United States right now, or how much distance you're willing to make for yourself there. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a totally different issue. It played a big part in this election, but that's state politics that's totally different from Virginia. But I think I made no qualms about it that I was a Trump supporter and continue to be. Now, do I agree with everything? No, but it's just kind of is what it is. At this point, we're going to legislate, and it's not a Trump agenda; it's a Virginia agenda, and I'm going to do the best thing for my district.
Fast forward 2 years. How would you look back and define success?
Passing some bills, getting some wins for my district. Just standing up, getting things for the district is a big concern, and moving forward, having a good working relationship, moving up in seniority, hopefully, and hopefully coming back in 2 years and continuing to build those relationships and get things for our district.
Delegate-elect, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the VPM YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, and visit vpm.org for more in-depth coverage.